And more of the 92 World Figure Skating Championships as we begin the original dance. This year the polka. And the first skaters from Canada, Penny Mann and Juan Carlos Noria, 16th after the two compulsory dances.
Well, I talked to Juan after the compulsory dances and asked him what he thought of his first experience on the ice here at the World Championships, and he said he quite enjoyed it. I said, what did you think of your marks? He said, well, if this was my 4th or 5th World, I'd be a little bit disappointed, but he thought, all things considered, they'd had a good skate and had received what he thought they might have received at their first World Championship. Well, by nature, the polka should have a lot of energy. And here, when we look at the two of them, we can see their facial expression, and you can see they're out there having fun, performing and showing us that they're indeed very energetic throughout the entire dance. As you mentioned, Barb, ice coverage and flow for this couple, I agree, was very good. And it's important to see in the original dance because it demonstrates your ability to skate, and that's what it's all about. Learning my lessons.
They've only been together since 1990, so they really, you know, have come a long way in a couple of short years.
They're there with their coach, Marilyn Simcoe and Eric Lutz.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
They've only been skating a year and a half together, Barb, as you mentioned, and it was their mother's idea. They were both looking for partners. In fact, Penny was considering retirement when the two moms got together and thought, boy, they'd make a good pair on the ice. And they said from the first time they got together, they realized it was a good match.
Hey, Valakit.
Well, lots been said about the judging, but those marks are rather consistent. 4.446 and 7.45s.
Hello, Minto Skating Club. How are you? Oh, that's right.
And the second set of marks, a 4.5 and 8.46s for Mann and Noria. And with more on the original dance, here's Sandra Bezic and the Cutting Edge.
Your local bottler of Diet Coke presents The Cutting Edge.
I'm sure everyone would agree that at the best of times, figure skating judging is confusing, especially for ice dancing. In this event, where the skaters are not allowed to jump and spin, falls do not occur very often. So what are the judges looking for? During the original dance, the judges are looking for upper body carriage, presentation, and even facial expressions that depict the theme of the dance, which this year is the polka. But the judges also must determine how intricate the couple's steps are in order to evaluate technical content. Quick steps with a variety of turns and changes of direction while still working with their bodies closely together makes for a more technically difficult dance. The best dancers are able to execute all these complicated steps with continually changing handholds and still perform in character. And for the polka, that's animated and festive. Quite often, when the audience disagrees with the judges, it's because the couple has entertained but not necessarily skated with a high degree of difficulty. The judges are looking for a balance of technical difficulty, artistry, and entertainment value, and in ice dancing, this is particularly subjective.
Here's our other Canadian pair. Jacqueline Petr and Mark Janoschak are in 11th spot after the 2 compulsory dances. Now remember, back to the Olympics, we weren't sure they'd be able to skate the original dance because of her injury, and it is the most taxing of the 3 elements of the dance competition for Jacqueline Petr and Mark Janoschak.
They used the music very well.
Well, the expression on their face is a lot different than we saw in Albertville, that's for sure.
Not only that, but they really made good use of the toe steps, which really captures the essence of a polka dance.
Well, for them it must be such a treat to go out there not injured and be able to perform as well as they knew they could. And at the games, they just didn't have that opportunity because of the rather severe injury that she sustained.
They were really relaxed out there, I thought.
Well, they referred to that Albertville experience and that Mark had to literally hold her up at the end because her leg was so tender. And there are the composition marks.
Showing out there. That was very good.
Roy Bradshaw likes the performance. From 4.8 up to a pair of 5.1. And the presentation marks up to a 5.2. And right now, Petr and Janoschak are the leaders early in the competition. Back with more from Oakland after this. Well, there usually isn't much variance in the marks of compulsory dancers, but there was for Kateřina Mrázová and Martin Šimeček of Czechoslovakia. They were 8th in the first compulsory dance, 10th in the second, and so they are 9th overall, sitting 2 spots ahead of Jacqueline, Petr, and Mark Janoschak.
Well, we've talked about people up and coming in the various events here this week, and I think in the dance event, this is one team which falls into the up-and-comers here at this World Championship.
Looking for very difficult, intricate footwork, but they're also looking for difficult transitions between partners, and I think that's something that this team does really well.
The one thing I thought this program didn't do so well, Barb, is cover the ice. In the last minute of the performance, I don't think they ventured towards this end of the rink where we're sitting at all. And that has to be considered a bit of a fault when one looks at the program in its entirety.
Look at the facial expressions there. They really performed a very exuberant dance, and I think that really captures what a polka is all about.
They had quite an experience at the Olympic Games because they had to practice in the same group as the Duchenes in the week leading up to the competition, and that turned out to be like skating in a 3-ring circus with full houses for even an early morning practice.
I'm sure it got them a little exposure, though.
Jan Bartok is their coach. They skate out of Prague, and the first set of marks, 5 1s and 2s.
And much like Kristi Yamaguchi, who is here skating in the ladies event in her hometown, this team will enjoy that luxury next year in Prague at the 1993 World Championships.
And the presentation marks go up, and so Mrázová and Šimeček are now ahead of Petr and Janoschak. Back with more from Oakland. 8th last year at the World Championships and at the Olympics. The French champions Dominique Yvon and Frédéric Palluel are in 7th spot right now after the 2 compulsory dances, but they've actually lost a position since the retirement of the Duchenes and Engi and Toth. In fact, they've lost it to their younger teammates, Mongnat and Levanti.
Well, even though they were 8th at the Olympics, in this particular portion of the competition, they were 9th. Their teammates were ahead of them. So this is not their particular best portion of the competition.
Well, one of the things that is to be avoided in the original dance and throughout the ice dance competition is skating or standing on 2 feet. And I think if you watch this one closely, you'll perhaps see a little bit more of that than usual.
and use every beat of the music to try and keep up with the music, and you find that this team uses every second beat at times. I just found it to be very sloppy at times. The unison just wasn't there.
They're not crisp in their delivery, and that is paramount in this dance. And at times I found them a little bit animated for my liking.
They are veterans. This is their 4th World Championship. It would have been their 5th, but they suffered a terrible injury just prior to the Halifax World Championship. She slammed her head against the ice and suffered cranial trauma, lost some vision, and they were off the ice for 4 months. 5.3. Despite the criticisms, the marks are there, up to a 5.4 from the French judge.
Well, Chris, you mentioned injury to this dance team, and injury has been a problem with the French ice dancers, as they were eligible to have a 3rd team here at the competition. They made the trip, but could not compete because of a leg injury to the female in the number 3 dance team.
The presentation marks 5 first-place marks and 4 second-place marks in the original dance, and Yvon and Palawal have taken over the lead ahead of Mrázová and Šimeček and Petr Janoschak.
Thank you. Evgeni Platov.
Making the gradual ascent in the dance world to the top, Oksana Grishuk and Evgeni Platov. 2 years ago at the World Championships, they were 5th, last year 4th, and they are 3rd after the 2 compulsory dances here.
We talked earlier about how partner transitions are so important in the original dance. Watch this one, because they probably have one of the most difficult original dances in terms of the changes of positions between partners.
The other thing to note as you watch this performance is its ice coverage. This team is perhaps the best in the world at covering an ice rink.
more difficult dances that we will see out here today.
But not only was it difficult, Barb, but they perform it so smoothly. You mentioned the transitions. They never struggle in a change of position. They just sit, relax, and let it happen. They continue the speed and the flow throughout the transitions. There you saw her do a twizzle under his arm, and they never slowed down.
And that is very important because you must complete very difficult steps. And in order to do that, you must keep up the speed as well. And that is very difficult to do.
Judges don't waste any time with these marks. 5-5, 5-6s, and 7s for Oksana Grishuk, who celebrated her 21st birthday last week, and 24-year-old Evgeni Platov. What will be interesting is to see whether or not they can upset one of their teammates in either the original dance or the free dance.
Well, I would have to say that would be a long shot at best.
With their coach Natalia Dubova, and they seem quite happy with the marks that have them seated first at the moment. Rock'n'Roll Coco are next. More of the 92 Worlds after this. The Finnish champions fifth after the 2 compulsory dances. They were also participants in Skate America last fall. And this is their second polka of the year because the polka they presented at Skate America was not met with approval by the judges, so they went home and have brought a new one here.
That's an interesting note, Chris, because they train with Martin Skotnicki, who also coaches the Duchenes, and they also had a polka which they originally put together and debuted and were told it was unacceptable. So both this team and the Duchenes, coached by the same coach, had programs that were declared or told were not applicable here in the competition.
And music really is one of the most important elements of the polka because the incorrect selection of the music for the rhythm chosen must be severely penalized if it is wrong.
I think he's had the back end of that set of trousers let go on him.
I don't know if he knows it or not.
I'm sure he doesn't know it yet, but he looks delighted with his performance.
We'll be able to tell by how big a bow he takes.
I don't think he's bending forward.
No. Well, they are a fun-loving couple and really have captured an audience here and everywhere they skate.
Well, I've often commented about the fact that in these polkas, some of these couples look a little bit too animated. They couldn't possibly be having that much fun out there. But if you've met this couple, they really are two charming individuals, and they are just being themselves out there.
Part of the competition here is for the highest placing couple, non-Russian, and they are right now second to Camerlengo and Caligari in that category. 5 4s and 5 5s for composition for Rock'n'Roll Coco. And remember, their free dance perhaps the best received by the audience in Albertville, so they've got a great free dance to rely on, perhaps to move up in the standings. There are the presentation marks, 5 5s and 5 6s.
Representing Italy, Stefania Caligari and Pasquale Ponomarenko.
Well, if any couple can crack the Russian domination here, this is the team with the best chance. Fourth after the 2 compulsory dances, Stefania Caligari and Pasquale Camerlengo, the 1992 Italian champions.
it's interesting, this team worked on this dance on a stage with Bavarian dancers prior to bringing it onto the ice. But one of the criticisms for their dance is that they have very poor ice coverage. Remember, that it's very important to cover all areas of the ice, and this one just doesn't seem to do that. The judges and the people, but because of that, it really didn't get the ice coverage that they must have.
This camera angle is shot from judges' side, and as you can see, it's been, as you mentioned, Barb, cleverly choreographed to play a lot to judges' side.
But I really felt that they did bring out the essence of the polka. You could almost picture them in a beer hall.
Well, as we wait for their marks to come up, in that first set of mark for composition, the judges are looking for the following. They're looking for the difficulty, the originality, and the variety of the performance, the cleanness and sureness of that performance, whether they're skating on edges with depth and flow, and whether they've utilized the ice surface.
And the marks, 5.5s and 5.6s. That's the second best set of composition marks we've seen so far.
And in the second set, which is for presentation, the judges are looking for the correct selection of music. They're looking for the movements of the couple in rhythm with the music. They're looking for a harmonious composition of the program as a whole, whether they've interpreted the character of the music and their carriage style and unison in relation to the music that they've selected.
8 of the 9 judges prefer them to Rakimo Koko. They are behind Grishuk Platov, and we'll be back with the Olympic champions Klimova Ponomarenko when we return to Oakland. The Olympic champions and 2-time world champions Marina Klimova and Sergei Ponomarenko. Well, the Duchesnes aren't here, but they are still a hot topic of conversation after the CDs when asked if they'd still be leading if the Duchesnes were here. Sergei, perhaps tongue-in-cheek, perhaps not, said that the Duchesnes weren't sharp at the Olympic Games and weren't in shape and might not be third, maybe fourth, even fifth at these World Championships. So the rivalry does continue on.
ice dancers are able to do is make difficult footwork look very easy, and that is exactly what this team did. And not only was it a sophisticated dance, but they kept it very fun, very light, energetic, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, Barb, one of the communications that came out from the ISU after it was announced that the polka was the original dance for this year, in it said that it should be remembered that the original dance should be considered as a ballroom dance. And as you watch this one, it really did feel as though they were dancing on a dance floor as opposed to actually being on ice. And I think that's a mark of someone who really has captured what an original dance is all about.
She is a woman of many looks, too. Looks very girlish here, and, of course, strikingly more mature look in her free program. The composition marks 4.59s from the CIS judge, France, Poland, and Bulgaria. And the presentation marks 5.59s. So Klimova, Ponomarenko have first place marks right across the board, and they're the leaders. Usova, Zhulin still to come. Sophie Mongnat and Pascal Levanchy are the up-and-comers from France. They were 9th at the Olympic Games, but have moved to 6th after the 2 compulsory dances.
This team has a very difficult polka. The footwork is very difficult, but it moves very well, and they really make use of every beat of the music. When you use every single beat of the music. But I really felt that even through the difficult intricacies of the footwork, they really kept up their speed and kept up with the music at all times.
Well, last month in Albertville, this team placed 9th in the compulsory dances and 9th in the free dance, but in the original dance, they placed 8th. The judges therefore felt that the original dance was perhaps the best aspect of their ice dancing.
They were the silver medalists at Skate Canada. 5 3s and 4s for Mongnat and Levanchy. 5.4. Thank you. They also went through that experience of practicing alongside the Duchenes in Albertville. Presentation marks much higher, so they do pass Yvon and Palawal once again, and in the overall standings, they are 5th. Klimova, Ponomarenko, the leaders. Grishuk, Platov, 2nd. Caligari, Camerlengo are 3rd. And Petr Janoschak have dropped to 11th spot.
Representing the Commonwealth of Independent States, Maya Usova and Alexander Zhulin.
In second place, the Olympic bronze medalists, Maya Usova and Alexander Zhulin. And when I talked to the Canadian couples about the competition, they both talked about the tempo, the increased tempo of Usova and Zhulin, even since the Olympics.
This is a Strauss polka, Viennese style. polkas.
Well, it may not have the technical difficulty that we saw from the polka of Klimova and Ponomarenko, but this polka is light, it's playful, it's a real joy to watch. They're out there having fun and enjoying it and really have a special quality about them that I don't think any other team on the ice had out there this evening.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to be a judge right now. As we said earlier, this polka and Klimova and Ponomarenko's are really in a class by themselves. And I really wouldn't want to make a decision on which one is the better of the two.
Good set of composition marks. Up to 5'9". That's the Polish judge at 5'9". Now the presentation marks. And they have first place marks from Switzerland, Czechoslovakia, and Poland, but only the 3 first place marks, 6 second place marks, and once again, they find themselves behind Klimova, Ponomarenko. 2 and 3. Klimova, Ponomarenko, Usova, Zhulin, and Grishuk, Platov, Petr and Janoschak. Welcome back to the Oakland Coliseum in 16th place after the compulsory dances and the original dance. Penny Mann and Juan Carlos Noria. 2 years ago, they got together on a public session for the first time. Felt that they had a future together, and here they are at their first World Championships.
Their coach, Marilyn Simcoe, calls this free dance a story of passion. And she says, what's difficult about this free dance is there are very few power steps, or what we would call crossovers. And it's very difficult to keep up the flow and the speed when you're doing intricate footwork without the power steps in between. through to the end.
Well, Barbara, as I watched them, I felt that they had obviously been watching the top dancers in the world. I felt like I saw a little bit of the Duchesnes out there in their attack and drive, and that shouldn't come as any surprise because the Duchesnes were taken from Marilyn Simcoe before they left the country to train and represent France. And to me, it was an encapturing moment out there to watch them skate.
They also say they are great admirers of Usova and Zhulin and have been taking in their practices. They say they don't want to mimic them, but they have learned a lot by watching two of the great ice dancers in the world.
Usova and Zhulin are the masters of passion on the ice as well.
Well, there are the technical marks, and he told me, he said it is intimidating coming to your first World Championships, but you don't want to show that you're intimidated, and I don't think they have. They've been very strong in their first World Championship, the second set of marks.
I don't think the marks really mean a lot here. I think what these two have done here is really left a lasting impression on everybody, and I think we're going to see them.
Well, Brian, here is our other Canadian couple, Jacqueline Petr and Mark Janoschak in 12th spot, somewhat frustrated by the fact that they have not moved up in this competition. In fact, have dropped a couple of spots from their 10th place in Munich. They're putting a brave face on it, but deep down inside, they're not sure why they've been marked down.
Well, they have made some changes to the free dance since the Olympics. And actually, I was speaking to their coach, Roy Bradshaw, and he said they've been making changes in this free dance ever since it was developed early on in the season. So it's been a little bit frustrating for them.
Jacqueline have expressed concern about the frustration they're experiencing by the fact that they feel like their material is such that they should be moving up in the ranking. But I think we have to recognize the fact that the World Championships have been isolated from the depth of the ice dancing in the Soviet Union for so many years by the fact that no country could send any more than 3 competitors to a World Championship. But with all the political change that's taken place in that part of the world, we now have the team from Latvia, which previously would have been considered part of the Soviet Union here. They're very good, and we find them in the top 10, so that in essence, there are 4 teams from the Soviet Union in the top 10 here at the World Championships. And I'm sorry, the Soviet Union always has had incredible depth in ice dancing, and unfortunately, Mark and Jacqueline are feeling the brunt of it here.
Technical marks. CIS judge at 4.8. 2 4.8s on the board, up to 5.1.
What happened? I grabbed for full boot. Twice right in front of the judges. 0.2 right there.
Well, Mark is pointing out a deduction right there. Artistic marks up to a 5.2s and a 5.3 on the board. That's their high mark, and Petr and Janoschak are right now in second place. 2 first-place marks there, but they are in second at the moment and will likely remain 12. We'll be back with more. The American champions, April Sergeant Thomas and Russ Witherby, who were 11th at the Olympic Games, but they've moved into the top 10, are currently 9th after the original dance, and if they can stay in the top 10, the Americans will send 2 to next year's World Championships.
Husband, John Thomas, who is a former Canadian dancer who skated with Kelly Johnson.
a certain amount of showbiz throughout it. All of their lengths were most exciting, and there were a lot of very interesting moves, a lot of very interesting transitions that really tended to be on the showbiz side of the sport.
Quite a few risky lifts here as well. I really liked the combination of ice dancing and jazz, and I thought this really had a nice light jazz feel, and I thought that the energy was really good throughout the dance.
Well, it's been a remarkable year for these two when you consider that she was in hospital in late December. Underwent surgery for a ruptured ovarian cyst. She was told to relax for 4 to 6 weeks, but that would have taken her out of the national championships and the Olympics. They were back on the ice just over a week later and went on to win the U.S. championships, the Olympics, and a fine set of technical marks here, and it looks like a top 10 finish at the World Championships.
Thank you. And their marks for artistic impression.
And the artistic marks go up. There's Mary Jane Stong, their coach, and they have first place marks from all 9 judges at this point.
5.4.
And it would appear they'll match or better last year's 9th place finish at Munich.
5.3. Thank you. Representing France, Sophie Mognac and Pascal Lavanchi.
Well, this young French team has certainly made an impression here. They were 9th at the Olympics. They have moved to 6th place here going into the free skate. So using the retirements of the Duchesnes, Engi Toth, and they've also passed their teammates Yvon and Paluel and moved up 3 spots, which is a big move in ice dancing.
They're skating to the soundtrack from Beetlejuice and the Witches of Eastwick.
Well, I think if there's a main reason why they passed their teammates, it's the simple fact that this team looks much more relaxed and much more confident out on their ice. covered a lot of ice, but I think what separates this one and puts it into the position where it's going to end up is the fact that there was a certain degree of sophistication lacking. And I think for so many of these teams in that 5 through 10 spot, it's the team that catches on, latches on to that degree of sophistication that's going to move them up above the number 5 spot.
Well, one of the most important things in ice dance is the music that is chosen. And I really wasn't crazy about this choice. I just didn't think that it was appropriate for ice dance.
At least for a free dance that's really going to do something.
She's 22 years of age from Paris, and Pascal is 23 from Colombes.
They really made a mark yesterday in their original dance. They really impressed a lot of people, and I think that this is a team we're going to see in the top 10 for the next few years to come.
The low marks are from the Swiss and Italian judges, 5-2 and 5-3. The rest 5-4s and 5-5s.
Thank you.
Daniel Marichal is their coach. There is the second set. Now they have 7 first-place marks and 2 second-place marks. And right now, they are the leaders ahead of Sergeant Witherby, Goolsby, Schomburger, and Petr and Janoschak. Back with more from Oakland. A couple that have certainly drawn a lot of comments this week, Aliki Stergiadou and Yuri Razgulayev. They are currently in 10th place. 10th after the original dance. They had a 9th place finish in the compulsory dance, but a lot of people behind the scenes feel this is a team that's going to move up very rapidly. The judge is almost holding them back because it is their first year.
Well, we saw them last year at the Junior World Championships, and back then we thought that they would be very comfortable in a World Championship. It's really impressed a lot of people here this week. the Russians from the rest of the pack is the quality of their skating, their edges, the flow, and their speed. And this team certainly had all those qualities.
Well, in my opinion, they chose a very difficult piece of music to skate to. The selections they used from the soundtrack from Jesus Christ Superstar are indeed very heavy and very powerful. This team met the challenge. I found the program to be just that. Very powerful, moved quickly out there, and had a lot of raw emotion, which is what that particular piece is all about.
But I also felt that in the slow part, they were really able to change pace and really portray a very gentle and passionate slow piece.
The judges' marks.
Program they also used to win the World Junior Championship.
For technical merit. 5.2.
And there could be two couples from Latvia next year in this dance competition. These marks for their first time at a World Championship, up to a 5.3. And with a promising young Lithuanian couple as well, we could have the former Soviet Union really crowding the top 10 in dance in the next 2 or 3 years. Well, a 5.4 is the top mark on the board. That from the Polish judge. And right now, Stergiadou and Razgo Yaev are in third place. Monyet Levanchi, Sergeant Witherby ahead of them.
Representing Czechoslovakia, Kateřina Mrázová and Martin Šimeček.
Here are the Czechoslovakian champions, Kateřina Mrázová and Martin Šimeček. They were 10th at the Olympic Games and are in 8th place right now, so they've moved up a couple of spots.
Dominique, and you always like to see that in a dance team.
Well, Barb, perhaps the nicest quality that this team has is something they have absolutely no control over. It's a genetic thing. This team just looks fabulous on the ice. They have very similar body types. Their leg match is exquisite. And as a result, without even really trying, they look fabulous out there.
Kateřina, 19 years of age. Martin is 24, and they are from Prague, and they are on the move, 12th at last year's World Championships in Munich, and so they were 2 spots behind Petr and Janoschak a year ago and could end up a couple of spots ahead of them here. There are the first set of marks, 5 2s and 3s.
5.2, 5.3, 5.3.
Jan Bartok is their coach.
5.3, 5.3, 5.3. Thank you. And their
They're the artistic marks. 2 first-place marks so far from Switzerland and Italy, and 7 second-place marks. And so Mrázová and Šimeček now move into second place behind Manyat and Levanchi, and ahead of Sargent and Witherby. And we'll be back with Yvon Palluel when we return to up-and-coming teams. Here's a veteran team, the French champions, Dominique Yvon, Frédéric Palluel, trying to hold off some of these young charging couples, and they have this rather unusual start to their program.
Ice dance is a sport where you simply cannot let your nerves get to you because you need your knees, and that's the first thing to go when you're nervous. But yesterday in the original dance, I've never seen a look of terror on somebody's face as I did on this team.
Well, I almost got the impression that they got shell-shocked in Albertville and really haven't recovered since, because they really haven't looked comfortable out here from day one.
illegal move that they had at the very beginning of the program. The other thing that I wonder, I'm not sure if our television audience could hear the birds chirping in the music, but you wonder if that is appropriate because the audience was laughing.
Well, Barb, I found the first section to be heavy, heavy, and powerful. Then they switched into a light, airy piece. There were birds singing. There was flies buzzing. I thought I heard someone maybe got shot out there. And I'm sorry, but I had to think too much to enjoy this performance. I didn't get it at all.
Well, you just didn't know what kind of effect they were trying to achieve out there.
Well, the music's called Revolution, and it's supposed to be a humanist message. And to help the message along, the costumes are by Nina Ricci. They really have an identity crisis. Everywhere they go in France, they're introduced as the French national champions, and people in the crowd say, well, I thought the Duchesnes were the national champions. And with Maya Usova coming along, their championship will be on the line next year. The marks 5 3s and 4s for technical merit.
Well, I hate to be overcritical, but on this one, I just didn't see a lot of positive out there.
Well, the judges apparently do, though. They have a first-place mark from Italy. They have 6 second-place marks and a third-place mark, and so it's France 1-2 at the moment. Maya Usova, Yvon Paluel, Mrázová, and Šimeček are in third place.
Thank you.
Here are the Italian champions, Stefania Caligari and Pasquale Camerlengo, who are currently in 4th place and also the leaders amongst the non-Russian competitors.
Well, this is a style of free dance that reminds me of former dance champions Tracy Wilson and Rob McCall. judges.
Well, Barb, I commented on that about this free dance in Albertville, but sitting at this end of the rink, I saw it from a totally different perspective. And believe it or not, this team could have skated on a rink 200 feet long by 40 feet wide because they never came to the back side or the other side of the rink from where the judges were at all.
But nonetheless, it is very entertaining. It's
Oh,
a real
full of
crowd.
gimmicks.
It's a real
great
crowd
gimmicky free
pleaser.
dance. It is. There's no doubt about it. It's full of great gimmicks and great mime.
And great facial expression.
But to me, I don't think that's what a good free dance is, and I don't understand why the judges like this one so much.
And they do like it. A couple of 5.7s there, Germany and Czechoslovakia. Highest technical marks we've seen so far.
Thank you. And their marks for...
Just from this end perspective, it almost looked like a private screening for the 9 judges.
Oh, we could never be dance judges.
9 first-place marks, however, for Caligari and Camerlengo.
Thank you.
Coming up next, the here are the Olympic gold medalists as we welcome you back to Oakland. Marina Klimova and Sergei Ponomarenko are the leaders, but Barb, that was an intriguing story about her blade problems and how they made it through the original dance.
Well, I was amazed when Sergei told me that they struggled through the whole original dance because I didn't really see that. I thought it was a very strong dance. But she had her skates sharpened and she said they were fine, but you have to wonder what that does to your confidence.
Zhulin in there, getting to their feet for Marina Klimova and Sergei Ponomarenko.
Well, I sure hope that this free dance comes across on television like it does in real life, because watching this here tonight, it's an experience.
Well, Barbara, when I first saw the free dance at Europeans, it didn't catch my fancy. But after seeing it there, after seeing it at Olympics, and after seeing it here tonight, I have grown to love this free dance. These two skate like they're two magnets out there, like they're drawn to each other. They skate in perfect sync. And as a result, you just feel that you couldn't separate these two if you tried out there. And it's a powerful emotion that's just breathtaking.
Their final competitive program, and it's certainly one to remember. First set of marks come up, 5.7 to 5.9s, and despite the talk of the blade problems, they were as sharp as ever. 5.9s right across the board for Klimova and Ponomarenko, looking for their third world championship. Still to come, their arch rivals, Usova Zhulin, when we return to Oakland.
Alexander Zhulin.
Second spot in pursuit of their first world championship, Maya Usova and Alexander Zhulin. But no margin for error with that string of 5.9s, and it might have been 6s had Usova Zhulin already skated. But there's very little there for Usova and Zhulin to pass Klimova Ponomarenko.
And this free dance really speaks for itself. They're skating to 4 seasons, and they are 2 statues in a park coming to life.
especially in light of the fact that we've been discussing the skate problems that Klimova, Ponomarenko have had, and then there was a case of the classic missed an edge lost. Barb, it's hard to put into words what it feels like when you've got a program that relies so heavily on capturing your audience, creating a spell, and then to have that spell broken by a fall like that. It certainly is, for them, a frustrating experience because the program had been going so well.
Well, I was spellbound. I really was. And when they fell, it just sort of woke me up. And you couldn't really get back into that same frame of mind after that because
all you could think of was the fact that they had fallen, and it was such an unusual, rare thing to happen to this team in particular.
To any team in ice skating.
With that, the gold slips away, but does that mean the silver is also in jeopardy? Let's find out. The technical marks really don't drop because of the fall.
They are really so good that I can't see the judges taking away the silver from them.
Great artistic marks. They say they will change their style next year. I think fans around the world aren't sure they really have to. Usova Zhulin, second place marks right across the board. They are behind Klimova Ponomarenko once again.
Representing Finland, Susanna Rakamo and Petr.
Well, it will be interesting to see how the crowd reacts to Susanna Rakamo and Petr, the Finnish champions, who are in 5th place because in Albertville they brought down the house with their free program. And here they are right after Klimova Ponomarenko and Usova Zhulin.
to follow. But I'd have to say that this team had a very unique approach. They were really fun to watch.
Barb, the fact that they skated right behind Usova Zhulin provides an interesting opportunity to compare what it is about Usova Zhulin, Klimova, Ponomarenko that makes them the best. And what it is that when you watch this team skate, when you watch the Finns skate, you notice that they just did those 3 particular steps because they need to get some speed up for whatever they're doing next. You never notice that with Klimova, Ponomarenko, or Usova Zhulin. They get their speed apparently effortlessly.
What I did notice, though, it seemed they traveled the ice faster than any other couple.
Well, I really found that was one thing that Caligari and Camerlingo were lacking, and that this team had. They really covered the ice.
Well, they are in a battle with Caligari Camerlengo to see who the top non-Russian pair is, and they have 4th place marked right across the board, so they will stay in 4th, but they win more fans here in Oakland. Rakamo and Coco coming up next. Grishuk Platov when we come back to Oakland.
Thank you. Commonwealth of Independent States, Oksana Grishuk and Evgeni Platov.
In 3rd place and looking for their first world medal, here are Oksana Grishuk and Evgeni Platov.
And if we've discussed speed and flow to excess here tonight, this is the team of all of them that has perhaps the best flow and ice coverage out there.
Uncharacteristic mistakes from great Russian couples tonight.
Both taking from the same coach.
Well, that one was very well covered up, but it definitely was not a choreographed part of the performance.
Almost had to look twice to see if that was a mistake.
Usova's teams had some difficulty out here tonight, but what I'm impressed with the most is the fact that both of these programs, Usova, Zhulin, and Grishuk Platov, are choreographed by Ludmila Butskova, and to have two teams stand on the podium at the World Championship, I think says a lot in terms of choreographic ability.
Well, I really like this team, and I think we'll see a lot of them in the future, but they just don't capture me like Usova and Zhulin do, and I have to wonder if maybe it's just the choice of music. It really doesn't have a lot of emotion to it.
What happens on this fall is that coming out of the twizzle, she plants a toe and he continues his motion and pulls her down. But I'm most impressed by the way she rolled with it for a great recovery. This is a sign of a team that is really in tune with each other.
Now fans at home will be wondering. Now we've seen mistakes by Usova Zhulin, a mistake by them, and yet we're still considering, well, probably a Russian sweep. Should we be seeing that?
Definitely, because these three teams are just so much better than the rest.
Choreographically, speed, style, look, extension, flow. Bob, you're right. These three have it head and shoulders above the balance of the field.
Artistic marks are there, 8 third-place marks. Only the Czechoslovakian judge has dropped them to 4th, so it is indeed a Russian sweep. Klimova, Ponomarenko, Usova, Zhulin, Grishuk, Platov. As far as the Canadians are concerned, Petr, Janoschak 12th, Mann and Noria are 16th. Now, let's join Brian Williams with their world title in Munich. They are gold medalists once again, Marina Klimova and Sergei Ponomarenko. And once again, the crowd on its feet here.
Presenting the medals, please rise.
CIS in 4th spot, Caligari and Camerlengo of Italy, Rakamo Coco of Finland finished 5th. And there are the Canadian results, Petr, Janoschak 12th, Penny Mann and Juan Carlos Noria finishing in 16th spot. But it was an interesting night because 2 of the 3 medalists experienced major mistakes, Paul, and I'm sure people at home are wondering, should they have been on the podium?
Well, Chris, as soon as Usova Zhulin had their fall, I reached for the rule book to check to see what the deduction was for a fall in a free dance. There is no set deduction for falls in the free dance. So quickly I turned to Jean Semp and I said, Jean, what's the story? What gives? She says, Paul, when a person or a team falls in the free dance, what the judge does is they simply lower the base mark of that performance. And for both Usova Zhulin and Grishuk Platov, their base mark is so much higher